Okay, this is Orlando Wilson, and what I want to talk about in this video, I want to answer another question, which somebody asked me about communications equipment and what do we use for communications when we're providing executive protection, close protection, etc., etc. We use our phones. That's it. And I think these days there's enough different messaging apps, secure messaging apps, where I think walkie-talkies are pretty redundant. The issue is, if you're doing anything covert, walking around with earpieces on can draw attention to you. The wired earpieces especially. But I seen somebody recently with one, and it's I think it's people that's wearing the wired earpieces these days. It's more of a them trying to show everybody they're working undercover or something, but they're really not, right? These days you can get away with the earbud type things. But again, I'm not too keen on those, because if you've got something in your ear, you can't hear what's going on around you, and that situation awareness for me is a big thing if you watch my other videos. The other issue with walkie-talkies, I know somebody told me a story recently of somebody that went into one country, I won't mention Northern Cyprus, and for some reason this person had, him and his wife, the story goes, had walkie-talkies with them, because that way they could keep in communication when they're going out shopping and everything else. But the walkie-talkies are a little bit high-end. As they were leaving, as they left the hotel and going to the airport, they accidentally left one of the walkie-talkies in the hotel. The hotel staff was nice enough to call them and tell them that, you know what, we've just found one of your walkie-talkies in the hotel. Do you want to come back and pick it up? Of course, they're expensive walkie-talkies. When they got to the hotel, it wasn't just the hotel staff they're waiting for them, it was also the police. And there was the guy was arrested. The wife was let go, and they had big issues and a big legal case. I'm not sure how it went on, but he was detained for a while in Northern Cyprus. This is the thing, in a lot of countries, if you're traveling with any type of communications equipment or anything that's out of the ordinary and people catch eyes of it, they can ask questions. In some countries, and there's plenty of countries today, especially with current state of affairs, it's a little bit paranoid. If you're seen walking around the streets with walkie-talkies or earpieces or doing anything that's out of the ordinary, you'll draw attention and the police will be called. Then you've got questions to answer, etc. If you're working with clients, well, your client's going about their business, and if you're being detained and talked to by the police, you can't protect your client. You can't provide the services you should be providing. So this is the thing, walkie-talkies on your home territory, yeah, sure, if they're legal, and even in a lot of places, general radios, there's some type of licensing or registration due to frequencies, etc. So as long as you're legal on your home territory, sure, use them if it saves you money, if it's better than cell phones. If you're going to areas where there's bad communications, and to be honest with you, most places these days you can get some type of cell phone coverage. I was talking to somebody recently. I remember when I was using Blackberries, I got better, more solid communications in parts of the bush in Nigeria than I did in Miami. Some parts of Miami couldn't get a signal. I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Nigeria, I'm getting a good signal. I would say if you're going to another country, and again, a lot of countries are doing it these days, you can get tourist SIM cards. If you can't get a real SIM card, just get a cell phone and get a tourist SIM card, or get a SIM card. Because again, if you're walking around talking on a phone, or looking at a phone, everybody does it. If you're walking around talking on a walkie-talkie, and generally most people can look at a cell phone and say that's a cell phone, and look at a walkie-talkie and say that's a walkie-talkie, you're a lot less suspicious using cell phones. I've had people say, well, the phones can be intercepted and all this stuff, and the apps are listenable, etc. Yeah, of course they are. Anything you do on the internet can be listened into. Cell phone communications can be listened into. Sat phone communications can be listened into. I've got a story up somewhere about sat phones And again, that's for another time. But I think the story's already up there. It's also in my books when we talk about communications, covert communications. So this is where anything you do which is electronic communications can be listened into. If you're that worried about it, and again, I don't deal with cases where I'm that worried about government agencies listening into my communications. I'm dealing with clients that's providing legal services, etc., etc. And if you're that worried about stuff, I tell people use different apps every day. If you're running a 4-day job, just mix up the apps you're using, various communications on various apps on various days, change them around 12 hours, 4 hours, etc. Code them. You're talking in code, you're not talking clear, all basic stuff. And again, back when I was in the military a long time ago, I'm sure some of you will remember it, the older people, stuff like backcode. We had encrypted radios in Northern Ireland, but everywhere else, nothing was encrypted. So it was using code and everything else. So you can work out a system amongst yourselves, a coded system. Can't go into details here, not long enough. Work out a coded system and just mix up the apps you're using on your phones. To me, that's fine. But again, it's keeping things as simple as possible and as workable as possible. As I said, it's like people playing around on a cell phone these days everywhere. If you see somebody with a walkie-talkie or in a wired earpiece, why? Same with surveillance. Somebody taking selfies on a smartphone, everybody's doing it. Somebody going around with a large SLR stills camera with a 600mm lens draws a little bit of attention. So, just my opinion on communications. Keep it simple. We use cell phones. We use the apps. It's a lot easier. And again, it's a lot simpler, a lot more flexible than carrying around radios, which in some places are going to get you into trouble if they're not licensed, registered, and if the local law enforcement does not approve. In the meantime, follow me along on social media. I like LinkedIn. I'm also up on X. We got stuff up on the main platforms. We're back up on TikTok, even though I don't like TikTok, but other people seem to like it. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, etc. So follow us along. You got any relevant questions, reach out to me and I will get back to you in time when I'm not too busy. So as always, be good, stay safe, and try to stay out of trouble.